Hey guys, it's Kaelin Anderson. Welcome back to my channel for special events. And on today's episode, we're going to talk all about when I have our final phone call with our client, in this case, a bride and a groom, about their wedding, the bartending that we're going to be doing for our mobile bartending business, and what important details that I look for in that final phone call. If you find these videos helpful, if you have further questions and want to follow along on this journey and you might be starting your own, please hit that subscribe button, like, follow, share, ask all the questions. As always, your questions really help me spark new ideas for these videos because a lot of the things that I do sometimes come second nature to me at this point, and I don't remember to always take videos or speak to them, and I'm trying very, very hard to share out all these things that I'm doing now to really help those who are getting started on this journey or trying to kind of speed up the process of their journey. So let's get started on walk through what the phone call looks like. I could have all sorts of fancy things and I could probably make these videos like super fancy. I'm sorry, I just don't have the time for that right now. I love when I have 10 minutes just getting on, creating a video, and then getting that uploaded for you guys as soon as I can. And with that, I don't do anything fancy. I take them right on my phone. I upload them to YouTube the old-fashioned way. Sometimes they take like 2 hours to upload, but they get up there and you guys are able to see them, and that works for me. So at some point in life, maybe I'll have very fancy videos, but for right now, you're gonna get me explaining these things, as clearly as I can. And then I'm actually gonna turn my screen around here and you can literally see a piece of notebook paper, because even though I use platforms like HoneyBook and I have a really nice website through Squarespace and I have all these great things that are super helpful that are needed, when it comes down to it, I am an old-fashioned like paper and pencil girl, and when I'm communicating with someone on the phone, there's tons of research that shows that writing things down really helps you to understand them much better. So I love to just scribble some things down. When I turn my screen around and I show you my scribbles, it actually looks much neater because I rewrote this. One, to keep the client's, privacy, but also two, to kind of make it a little bit neater, because when I'm writing, I make this like big loop. I'm also left-handed, so I feel like sometimes my family tells me that I do things backwards a lot. I don't know, it makes sense to me, but when I write things, we start up at the top and then we kind of go work down and then we go back over and it makes like this big circle. So I tried to make this a little bit easier for you, but I'm going to turn my screen around and I'm going to share with you kind of what I do when I'm talking to the client. Now, when I first get on the phone with them, I explain like, hey, this is our final kind of walkthrough before your big day. Please ask any questions that you have, but please let me kind of get us started, really set the tone as you, the business owner, are going through this meeting. Set the tone and say like, I have a setup of kind of how this works for me to go over this by phone, and hopefully I will ask all of the questions that are needed and they'll answer your questions. If there's something along the way that doesn't get answered, please just interject and let me know, and I will make sure I address whatever questions that you have. But if you don't mind, let me get started. And that usually works out great. Usually a lot of the questions that I ask get answered that they had, and it has worked out so far for us. So let me turn my screen around here for you and I will show you what we got. Okay, so I always start, even though I know who it is, I always start with the names of the bride and the groom. Now, super important, sometimes you're only communicating with the bride, or you're communicating with like the mother of the bride or the groom. And I know it sounds awful, but it's way better to know the groom's name or the other party's name ahead of time. So if you don't know it yet, ask it during this phone call because then you know before you get to the wedding or to the event. Location, always get the venue name. I know this location personally. I go there a ton. If this is a new one for you, make sure you get their address. And it's also a really good idea, like after you have these final details and answer any questions, that you reach out to that venue if they're new to you, just as a showing of like good faith, saying, hey, I haven't worked with you before. We're very excited to come to your venue. We've heard great things. Do you need anything from me? Copies of insurance, copies of certifications? Is there anything we can do for you ahead of time before we come to your venue? That goes a long, long way. Next thing is your final guest count. Super important for those of us that are doing packages by guest count. We have our like minimal packages where you're, ordering your staff or ordering your rentals, your bars, but then our consumables and our mixers go on guest count. So in this case, it was very important to get that final number because their final number is much less than they projected a year ago. So in this case, they're actually getting a refund. They already have that, actually. So when we do this, which is about a month before, a month and 2 months before, they have their final head count. We get that confirmed. Then I issue the refund for what the difference is if they need it. And or if they add it on, then I issue them, their final bill with their final head count in it. Next, we have our timeline. This is super important, and I put some stars here. I ask them when their ceremony will begin. In this case, since I work at the venue a lot, the ceremony start time is important to note because I ask whether it's on site or somewhere else. In this case, they have a beautiful ceremony site that's outside, so weather permitting, they will have the ceremony on site outside. So it's important to know that our 4:30 start time, we need to be prepared and ready to go when that ceremony starts, because we don't want them hearing us prepping the bar, making noise with ice, moving, cans of drinks around, or doing any of that stuff. We want it all done. So I usually give us about a 2-hour buffer. So at the latest that we will show up for this event would be 2:30. That would be the latest that we would show up to get ready for this event, especially because we can see that they're doing a first look at 1 p.m. So a ton of their family and friends are going to be there super early. You do not want to be trying to set up and navigate around them. You kind of want to be there earlier if possible, because then you really set the tone for what your work is, having it organized and set up. And you don't feel like you're like climbing over family members to get ready who will be saying, oh, can I just have this? Or can I just have a drink? Can I, I'm so-and-so's cousin and I'm here early. So try and get there and beat that rush. Then they tell us that the cocktail hour will be about 5 p.m. The days of super long ceremonies have kind of passed in my area. 30 minutes is usually the max. Usually it's much shorter. So when they say cocktail around 5, I'm kind of anticipating that we'll be starting drinks by like 4:45. Again, that's why it's super important to be ready by this ceremony setup time, because you really don't have much time before they come running for their first drinks. Then they're choosing to do intros and first dances around 6:10 p.m. with our toast and blessing at 6:30. It's important to get the information on the toast. Sometimes they want to serve champagne. Sometimes you will be in charge of making sure that champagne is cold, ready to go, and or poured into all the glasses at all the tables. And if they have a ton of guests, you want to make sure you have time and you are ready to go to get that done. They're anticipating dinner to start at 7 p.m. with an end time at 10. This is always an awkward question to ask. I don't know why, but for me it is saying that, okay, and what time are you done? Well, it's important though, because we need to know how long it takes to break down. We need to know, what time you're anticipating it to be over. A lot of venues have set times where they'll end, but once in a while, some of our venues do not. And they'll say, oh, we paid extra to go much later. And we need to know this, okay? Especially if you're scaling your company, you have bartenders working for you, they have families, they have children, they have to get babysitters. It's super important to know your end times. It's just part of the procedures. If you have a venue that says, well, we can go all night, what time do you typically go till, or do we have to pay extra? What I usually say is I go by the time that your entertainment goes by. So if you're paying for entertainment till 10 p.m., meaning a band or a DJ or a musician, then I go until your entertainment, because usually when the entertainment's done, everybody leaves. So that might be one way to get around that if a client is asking you, saying that they don't have an end time. By all means, if they are staying way, way later and you wanted to charge an additional fee hourly past, a 5-hour limit, that's something that's very reasonable as well. Most venues, though, according to their insurance policies, are going to say there's a 5-hour serving limit and will not allow them to serve any more past 5 hours. So check in with that venue owner. Again, super important to know your location, because they may say 5 hours and that's it. Okay, then we remind them of the packages that they purchased. So in this case, they purchased for 2 staff, full mixers and consumables, and a hydration station. So then the next question we ask is, okay, what mixers did you want? In this case, we usually tell them in this package, they get about 6 to choose from. If we're only going to do a couple of each thing, then I'll say that's fine. Yeah, I'm not super stingy on it. I just want them to know, I kind of cap it at 6 because I want them to know I'm not going to bring like every single mixer known to humans for them to say like, oh, can you make me some one-off drink? And I don't have that one mixer, and then someone gets upset. So in this case, they are Pepsi fans. So we're doing Pepsi, Diet, Ginger Ale, mostly Club, a little tonic, and then the 3 major juices, your orange, your cranberry, your pineapple. Garnishes requested, that's also in our full mixers consumables package. Garnishes, we're doing lemons, limes, we're doing cucumbers and mint, because in this case she's actually going to purchase some rum and we're going to batch some mirror ball mojitos. They sound wonderful, they look refreshing, they're going to smell great, and I already brought in our local flower farm, another local wedding vendor that we use, who is going to sell us some of her fresh mint, so we have that fresh and ready to go for this weekend. Then we look at the cocktail menu. They're offering a whiskey, a vodka, and a rum. They will also be doing a canned beers and seltzers. However, I didn't kind of put that on this list because I started making this and tried to make it nice and neat and tidy, and then I would have had to cram it over here, and nobody wants to see that. So these are our 3 choices we're going from. We also, you can see special requests. So I say, is there anything else that we have not covered or anything important you would like me to know? In this case, they said absolutely no shots without the bride or groom present. And I said, that's great. Again, location, knowing your venue, knowing their policies, their house rules, and also you can create your own house rules if need be. In this case, the venue owner says they may do them within reason, and also it's at the discretion of the bartender. So in this case, when the bride and groom say no shots unless they're with the bride or groom, that's perfectly fine. I have other locations that we work with that say absolutely no shots ever. It must be a full cocktail. So again, knowing your location, knowing your venue owners, what the house policies are, and what you're doing is super important. Lastly, they also purchased our hydration station package, which is 3 2.5 gallon glass drink dispensers. We chose water, lemonade, and unsweetened iced tea for this hydration station package. And the bar at this venue is super long, so we will set up that hydration station at the end of the bar. It'll be very easy to maintain, keep filled up, keep looking great, and organized throughout the night. This is kind of the breakdown of how everything we talk about and look at. We also help them get their quantities. So in this case, with this many people, looking at what they're having here, I believe our bride had already purchased 6 handles of her main 2 drinks here, which I think is plenty considering the guest count number. She was also going to purchase 2 handles of her rum. We're going to make a couple batches. I told her that I could get her about 5 gallons from the 2 handles with everything that goes into it. So that's more than enough. And then on top of it, what you're not seeing here is all of the beer choices that she's going to have. So she has 4 different beer choices, and she said a lot of their family is primarily beer drinkers. So that is taking into account the quantities that we're going to see here, because a lot of them are going to be drinking beer as well. I did remind her that anytime you're giving away free liquor, that goes first. Even if they're diehard beer drinkers, if you're going to give them something free that they think costs more, they're going to drink that. So we made sure that we kind of offset the cases of what they were doing versus the handles of drinks. I also want to let everybody know, quick numbers. Sometimes bartenders, you'd prefer to use just a regular bottle, so 750 milliliter bottle, because you can put those pour spouts on the top, which is great. I know it's harder to work with handles. However, handles give them the most bang for their buck, especially if there's any sales on what they have requested. Also, then you have less bottles that you have to move around, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be just taking the stuff and throwing it behind the bar, and then when we get there, we have to organize it. So 6 of each of these is 12 total, instead of 12 of each of these, and we have to move 24 of them around. So I just want you to think about that, what your preferences are, what that looks like. I always tell them it's their call, what they need to buy, or if there's any way to get a deal, do whatever they need to do that helps their budget, their price point. But I tell them I don't mind if they get the bigger bottles. And then this rum, we're actually going to be batching this cocktail, so we'll have it in a giant drink dispenser on the bar as well. I typically, to be honest, just so I can really keep track of who is drinking what and make sure we're doing this responsibly, and to make sure that the cocktails taste identical, I'm going to batch the contents of this. So like our simple syrup, the club, I'm going to muddle that fresh mint and that cucumber. I'm going to get that sort of stuff ready in our dispenser right before we start, because I know this will be a very popular cocktail hour drink. But I'm going to take that rum and then the elderflower liqueur that goes with that, and I'm going to put those individual shots that need to go into each of those cups in the cup, and then just pour over the contents into it, because I don't want to throw, a whole bottle of rum in there and then not know, did it disperse correctly, and is everyone getting the same thing? So that's just my preference. You do have to move a little bit faster if you're going to be doing it individually. However, I just think that makes for a better cocktail. You might think of something different or have a different opinion. Let me know in the comments. Obviously, I would love to hear it. If you see anything on this list or any questions that you may have regarding this, please let me know. But this is kind of the things that I talk about. By the end of the phone call, I ask if they have any further questions, if they need anything else. If I don't know, if they have like a coordinator for the day of or a planner, I make sure I get their information, their phone number, their email, any contact information they may need. Because if I do have a last minute question, you really, really don't want to disturb that bride or groom unless you absolutely have to. Again, making this as seamless as possible. And then in this case, I know who their coordinator is, and I have already reached out to her to talk about getting there early and making sure things are set up way ahead of time to make sure everything goes smoothly. So that kind of makes this process much easier as well. If you have any other questions on how I do all of these things, please let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate you checking this out. We will be getting some videos up here about what the go boxes look like, moving the trailers, all of that. We have a really fun, let me get this turned around for you. Really fun styled shoot coming up this weekend also, so hopefully I will be able to take video and behind the scenes of all of that and the styled shoot. I'm super excited. That's something that's a little new for us, but I'm super pumped to be a part of it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Ask any questions you have. Please hit that subscribe button and let me know how I can help you in your mobile business process. Thanks for watching. Kaelin from Special Events Beverage Service. Have a great day.